Hey, welcome back. Today I want to talk about oral boards getting hired on in a law enforcement agency, specifically for corrections, and what I observed when I was on interview panels and the changes in the type of person that are applying and what you should probably do to sit there and be successful. Stand by. In my 24 years working in law enforcement as a correctional officer for a local county, I've had the opportunity to sit on many oral boards and hiring processes and be a part of that process, which is pretty rewarding in itself. You get to see the new generation of people that are applying and want to apply. And I could break it down into over time how the candidates are, what we were looking for and what we were expecting, and how it kind of manifested itself through different generations. Let's start off with what a correctional officer does. I'm not going to go into great detail what a correctional officer does, but essentially it's the care and custody of persons that are incarcerated while they're waiting to go to court, or they're sentenced, or they're ready for release. So pretty much you're taking care of someone. They have limited rights. Some of their rights are suspended while they're incarcerated, waiting to go through court. So that's something you have to consider. I've covered it on a previous video on how you should treat people. I mean, you shouldn't have to tell someone how to do that, but it's interesting the way people react in that environment. Now, I had the opportunity to sit on the oral boards, and some things that I've noticed over the years, things have changed, where when I first got hired, most places still require you to have graduation from high school diploma, or some additional training. Now, if you didn't have any additional training, you get hired on, you go to an academy, you go through, at least in California, you go through a Correctional Officer Corps Academy, and you get training on everything you should know, and then you finish out with on-the-job training for a year and a half, depending on your probationary period for that agency. On the oral boards, I noticed when candidates would come through at the beginning, when I first started sitting on them, there would be a lot of high school diploma, high school graduates, people without advanced degrees or advanced training. And a trend that I noticed moving forward through years, you would have still younger candidates, but they would have degrees, bachelor's. Some even had masters. And what I started to realize is that they were being pushed to go to school to get these degrees in whatever field they were going to work. And then they found out they couldn't get work that paid enough to pay for their college loans and also to work in the field they wanted to work in. So it's pretty sad, because not that I didn't want people to come apply and be a correctional officer, but you could tell that they weren't into it. All they saw was money. They saw what it would pay, the benefits it had, which in some places they're really good benefits. In other places it really sucks. So it depends on where you apply. But a lot of them, most of them, didn't have knowledge of what they would be getting themselves into, what they'd be working with, where they'd be working at, what the job entails. Most of them didn't even visit the website of the place that they were applying to know who the current sheriff was, or what divisions are in the sheriff's department in this case. They came in pretty clueless, and while they had some good answers, a lot of them didn't have the practical experience. They didn't have the experience of life. So earlier in the career, where I was talking about the candidates had good life experience, they had been working other jobs, and they wanted to transition to something a little more stable, a little more rewarding. Maybe they wanted to go into law enforcement. So the goal of going into law enforcement is always going into law enforcement. It's the stability, it's the job, it's the money that comes with it. So there was those candidates. And then there was other people that they didn't have a clue. All they knew that they had to get a job. And, in corrections, you're always hiring. You're always looking for someone, and I hate to say this, sometimes it's a warm body to go on shift and work the shift As long as someone's there and they pass the mirror test where they breathe on the mirror and you see signs of life, yeah, they're a good candidate to have. It does happen that way. Now, thinking about this in retrospect is very interesting, the way times have changed. You went from lots of work experience and life experience to no life experience and lots of education. Some people thought they were going to be working with juveniles, and I'm sorry, you're working with adults. Some people thought that they could help and repair people. That's not exactly the job of a correctional officer or a CO, but yeah, you could help in certain capacities, and I've done that before. So, but I don't think they really understood what it all entailed, what the job was about. So going before an oral board, anyone can answer, 20 questions, do a written assessment, pass. Doesn't mean you're exactly a good candidate for the job. Doesn't mean you'll be successful at the job. Actually, some of the most successful people had the life experience or growing up in a bad neighborhood or dealing with adversity. The ones that came through and I knew that they had advanced degrees and they hadn't really had their life challenged in any significant way, those are the ones that were badge heavy, insecure, and were not good people to work with. Now, I could only imagine how the incarcerated people felt, the inmates felt about it. So things have changed throughout the years. I find it interesting to see how it goes. Now, I did talk about how to be successful in an oral board. Do the research, know what you're getting into. It's not like you see on the movies and TVs and TV shows. Know the agency you're applying for and be real about things. Do you have the life experience? If you don't, nothing's wrong with saying, hey, listen, I don't have the life experience, but I have the drive. I was able to complete, X number of degrees. This is what I ultimately want to do, but I thought this would be a good place to go work, to gain experience, and I'd like to stay with your organization. Don't say you want to go work for someplace else. You're hiring for a certain organization. Be loyal to them. Do your thing. People that bounce around, there's a lack of loyalty there sometimes. There's reasons to go, and maybe you relocate. Maybe you really need to make more money, but the people that give you the break, unless it's an incredibly bad environment, give them the respect. Give them some time. Try to promote within, or try to take on extra duties or extra assignments, or transition from being a correctional officer to a deputy if that's what you want. Well, that's all I had to say. Enjoying this beautiful walk out here on the river today. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I am really enjoying it. Thanks for listening. If you have more questions, hit me up. Maybe I'll make another video.